Have you ever wondered why your best employees leave? Here's a clue, and it's not the paycheck. Hey everyone, Brian Hughes here. Welcome back to the channel. Let me start with a statement that may sting a little. Your best people usually do not leave first because of the paycheck. They leave because of what you tolerate. Now, I'm not saying compensation doesn't matter. Of course it matters. People have families, obligations, goals, and futures that they're trying to build. But in most organizations, the paycheck is not the first fracture. It is usually the explanation people give after they've already decided emotionally that the organization no longer deserves their best. A-players watch the culture more closely than most leaders realize. They watch what gets rewarded. They watch what gets ignored. They watch who gets protected. They watch whether the values on the wall show up in the daily decisions of the organization. And when they see a disconnect, they don't always speak up right away. At first, they try to rationalize it. They tell themselves, maybe leadership just doesn't know. Then they tell themselves, maybe this is temporary. Then eventually they start to understand the truth that this is not an exception. This is the standard. Here's what they see. They see mediocrity tolerated. Someone repeatedly misses the mark, avoids ownership, drains the team, and still receives the same recognition, the same flexibility, or the same opportunity as the people carrying the load. They see toxic behavior go unchallenged. The person who creates drama, manipulates relationships, dismisses dissent, or makes everything about themselves is allowed to continue because they produce numbers, have tenure, or maybe politically useful. They see broken promises ignored. Leadership says development matters. Leadership says people matter. Leadership says feedback matters. But the promised follow-up never happens. The listening session produces no change. The career path becomes a vague encouragement instead of a real plan. They see the difficult conversations avoided. Leaders talk around issues instead of addressing them. They soften the truth until no one knows what the standard actually is. Or worse, they wait so long that the conversation finally arrives as a punishment instead of coaching. They see excellence rewarded the same as average. And this one may be the most damaging. High performers are not usually asking to be worshipped. They're asking for the standard to mean something. They're asking for the effort, character, and contribution to be recognized differently than just mere attendance. And finally, they see the values are on the wall, but not in the actions. This is why I say culture is not defined by the words you put on a conference room wall. Culture is defined by the worst behavior you are willing to tolerate. And if you tolerate it, you teach it. You tolerate gossip, you teach gossip. If you tolerate dishonesty, you teach dishonesty. If you tolerate leaders who blame down and take credit up, you teach everyone that influence matters more than integrity. And if you tolerate a different standard for powerful people than everyone else, you no longer have standards. You have hierarchy disguised as policy. And your A-players see this. Some leaders will push back and say, well, if they were really committed, they would stay and help us fix it. I understand the sentiment, but let me ask a different question. How long should your best people be expected to carry the cost of leadership in action? How long should they cover for poor performers? How long should they absorb the emotional drag of toxic behaviors? How long should they pretend the values matter when the organization only enforces them selectively? At some point, leaving becomes the most rational and healthy decision available. So what do? First, audit what you are tolerating. Do not start with the value statement. Start with the exceptions. Ask yourself, who gets away with behavior that would not be tolerated from someone with less status? Where do we explain away poor behavior because a person produces? Where do we keep calling something a personality issue when it's actually a culture issue? Second, stop confusing employee retention with organizational health. Some people stay because they are deeply committed. Others stay because leaving is expensive, risky, inconvenient, or unavailable. Retention numbers alone do not prove cultural health. They may simply mean your people are physically present while maybe being emotionally detached. Third, make excellence visible without humiliating average performance. This is not about creating a caste system. It's about making the standards real. Develop people, coach people, support people, but do not pretend that contribution, character, and ownership are the same when they're not. Fourth, keep your promises or own them when you can't. A broken promise is not always fatal. A hidden broken promise is. People can handle disappointment far better than they can handle being quietly dismissed. Finally, move the values from the wall into the room. When behavior violates the value, name it. When someone lives the value, recognize it. When a leader fails a value, hold them accountable first. Your best people are not looking for perfection. They're looking for congruence. They're looking for leaders whose actions match the message. They're looking for standards that apply up, down, and across the organization. They're looking for a culture where excellence does not have to apologize for itself and where dignity is not reserved for the politically connected. So the question isn't, why are our A players leaving? The better question is, what are they seeing that we have been willing to tolerate? Because once you answer that honestly, you're finally ready to rebuild. If you'd like some help with this, reach out. Let's see what we can do together. Also, if you'd like to see how your organization ranks on the toxicity scale, be sure to click on the link in the bio for the culture quiz. And if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this around leadership and organizational health.